It's the last phase, vanished into havoc, unfathomable minds, and now analysis, now jokes. It's inside my listening device now. It's not like other podcasts. It's unlike other podcasts. I don't know what it wants, or if it wants, but it will grow until it encompasses everything. Horror movies and their sequels will be fragmented into their smallest parts until not one part remains. It's the How to Survive podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 137 of the How to Survive podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me, as ever, in the shimmer is Joe Shimmery Sherville.
Yes, thanks. My name's Chris Morris, and joining me, as ever, Joe Sherville.
Yes.
Little play on the film there.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Is it?
Sort of.
I don't think so.
Annihilation is the film this week. If you are in the UK or anywhere that isn't the United States, it is available on Netflix. If you're in the United States, take yourself down the damn cinema because you don't know how lucky you are.
Yeah.
Because Annihilation is quite the spectacle. And boy, oh boy, do I wish I'd seen it on the big screen.
Yeah. It's 2018. Trump's in the White House. What more could you want in life
Great.
than watching a movie called Annihilation?
Yes, thanks for that. Directed by Alex Garland. His previous film was Ex Machina, which we've discussed on this podcast before, which we enjoyed very much.
Yes.
And similar to that, it is a sort of theoretical science fiction thriller, chiller.
Quite experimental.
Yes, I would say so.
I think Ex Machina is one of my favourite films ever, and one of the best movies, top 10, top 5 we've covered on this podcast.
It's up there. Yeah. And this maybe is staking a claim as well.
Yes.
But you'll have to find out the other side of our spoiler-filled plot recap. As ever, we like to talk about the film in its entirety. And so we like to remind ourselves about what happened and maybe didn't happen in the film before we go on to talking about how to survive. And maybe there'll be some japes, some jokes, and maybe a quiz along the way. Just like Annihilation, the film. So if you haven't seen Annihilation, now's your last chance before we spoil it all for you.
He was never dead after all. There's the spoilers.
He was never dead after all. Great.
Can you describe its form?
No.
Start from the beginning.
What do you think I do when you're away?
You think I'm out in the garden pining, looking up at the sky?
Why aren't you here?
I gotta leave a day early.
Your husband's here.
Let me see him.
He's extremely ill.
You have to tell me where he was, what he was doing.
It was his decision to go in. It's something they termed the shimmer. We've sent in drones and teams of people, but nothing comes back.
But something has.
You're a biologist. You served in the military.
If I knew what happened, I could save his life.
The boundary's getting bigger. It's expanding. We're talking cities, states.
You need to know what's inside. So do I.
Lena, a former soldier turned biologist, lectures on the mutation of cancer cells at a university while her husband Kane, still in the military, is away on a covert mission. Through flashbacks, we see that at an unspecified time in their relationship, an unhappy and neglected Lena has an affair with a colleague. Kane has been absent for over a year when he suddenly arrives in their house, withdrawn and confused, and eventually collapsing. On the way to the hospital, their ambulance is intercepted by special forces who take Kane and sedate Lena. Lena wakes up in a research laboratory operated by the Southern Reach, who are investigating Area X, also known as the Shimmer, which is an area of the southern United States now engulfed in a mysterious, expanding, prismatic cloud. Though many research teams have ventured into the Shimmer, no one has returned until Kane, whose condition is now rapidly deteriorating. To try and help the Southern Reach determine what has happened to Kane, Lena agrees to accompany the latest soiree into the Shimmer, joining Josie, a physicist, Anya, a paramedic, Cass, an anthropologist, and Dr. Ventress, a psychologist who is terminally ill with cancer. And Dr. Ventress is leading the expedition.
Yes.
Upon their entry to Area X, the group wakes up an unknown number of days later, unaware of their location within the Shimmer and unable to determine it with their equipment, which does not appear to function correctly. They make their way to a submerged boathouse where Josie is attacked by an alligator who Lena shoots dead. Examination of the creature shows that it has shark-like teeth, a cross-species mutation that should be impossible. Similar mutations of flora and fauna appear within the Shimmer, including plants with multicoloured flowers, creeping vines and fungi, and deer with floral antlers.
They're pretty cool, aren't they?
The deer?
Yeah.
Air of the Pokemon about them, isn't there?
There's a bit,
Little
yeah.
bit, yeah.
That's why I like them so much, mate.
Yeah. The group reach an old research base and discover that Kane's group stayed there. In the base, they find a memory card labelled "For Those Who Follow," showing a video of Kane cutting open the abdomen of a living member of his group to reveal his intestines are moving independently inside.
Yeah, they're kind of slithering over Kane's hand when he puts it in there.
Yeah.
As if they're snakes or worms.
And Kane seems oddly happy.
He's like thrilled.
Yeesh. That night, a creature breaks into the compound and drags Cass away. The following day, the group move on and Lena discovers Cass's mutilated body. The group comes across a village filled with plants grown into the shape of humans. Josie suggests that the Shimmer acts as a sort of prism, explaining the chromatic light patterns and the distortion of radio signals, but for matter as well as waves, explaining the plants shaped like humans and the strange mutated animals. Josie further suggests that their presence means this process is happening to them as well.
We've all been there.
Yeah. That night, an increasingly distressed Anya ties up the rest of the group, claiming that she can see her fingerprints moving, and threatens to cut the others open to see if their insides move like the person in the video. However, she is stopped by the sound of Cass screaming outside. Anya rushes outside to help and screams in terror. A bear with protruding skull-like features enters the house and stalks the group, screaming in Cass's voice. Anya returns and shoots the bear, but is killed, and just as the creature attacks Lena, Josie kills it.
You say it's a bear, and I've seen it described as a bear online as well.
Yeah.
But it's not quite that. When you say protruding skull-like features, it's kind of like a bear, a pig, a dog, and a dead woman dying screaming.
Yes, it's a combination of many
Nightmare
different
animals.
things. Yeah, basically. None more so than the screaming voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeesh. Dr. Ventress leaves soon after, and the next morning, an exhausted Josie gives herself over to the Shimmer, apparently becoming one of the human-shaped plants. But this happens off camera and is left mostly to the imagination.
Yeah.
Creepy stuff.
That's not such a bad way to go. Some of them get like mauled by the alligators, bears, Some of them, as we'll see, end up worse off.
Yeah.
Turning into a flower,
Yeah.
relatively okay.
Seems peaceful, doesn't it? With no other option, Lena follows Ventress to the lighthouse, which is the epicenter and origin of the shimmer. There, she finds a charred body and a video camera and is horrified when a video shows Kane immolating himself with a phosphorus grenade before another Kane, the one now unwell outside the shimmer, appears from behind the camera. Lena heads into a tunnel to find a womb-like room with Ventress, her skin and features now motive, who appears to claim that the shimmer will expand uncontrollably and cause annihilation. Ventress then implodes into a hypnotic, shimmering ball of light and matter into which a droplet of Lena's blood is drawn. From the ball, a featureless, glowing figure is created, mimicking Lena's movements and actions in a kind of entrancing dance. Unable to escape or fight it, Lena manipulates the figure into picking up a phosphorus grenade. As they come into physical contact, Lena's features begin to appear on the figure. Lena pulls the pin on the grenade and runs, looking back in time to see the figure engulfed in chemical fire as it looks on indifferently. The figure returns to the underground room and collapses as the room is engulfed in fire, which spreads to the vines and the crystalline figures outside the lighthouse. Back at the Southern Reach, Lena relays her story to the researchers and is allowed to see Kane, who is now awake. She asks him if he is the real Kane, and he admits that he does not know. The two embrace. Kane's eyes glow and shimmer in colour. So do Lena's.
There you have it.
That is Annihilation.
Much anticipated, much enjoyed, I think.
I've no idea why they thought audiences would be too stupid to understand it.
Well, interesting way to start the conversation. So let's do it. I do not know of any film, and I've looked into this for research purposes for this podcast, where they pulled a cinema release because they didn't think the audience would get it. Right? I've heard of like cutting the movie, editing it, ready for that, but never just like straight up bypassing the cinema.
Yeah, well, I think there was. It's released by Paramount.
Yeah,
and there's one of Paramount's previous films in recent history was Mother.
Yes,
which was,
Darren Aronofsky.
A well-regarded, critically beloved director.
Yes,
featuring a high-profile female Hollywood star.
Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem.
Right.
Yeah,
bankable stars.
Yeah,
and it absolutely bombed at the box office because it was seen as being too weird.
Yeah,
and similarly, Blade Runner 2049 did pretty badly at the box office.
Yeah.
And so those two things, I think, combined to convince the studio that it wouldn't do well in the box office. And it's not a cheap film. It's about a $60 million budget.
Yeah, and it looks like it as well.
It looks incredible.
Yeah.
But I think basically what happened is that Paramount got spooked and said, you need to change the ending into something more uplifting or palatable to audiences.
Yeah.
And the producer and Alex Garland said, no, we're not going to do it, which kudos to them. And they said, fine, okay, but we're going to take the Netflix dollar and we're going to give you a limited release in the US
and no
in cinemas, no release worldwide in cinemas.
Fucking crazy.
And they barely marketed it. And lo and behold, barely anyone went to see it in the cinema. Despite the fact that this is, what a lot of people are crying out for in the sense that it's, original property. Well, I mean, it's adapted from a novel.
Barely.
To some extent, and adapted from a Jeff Vandermeer novel of the same name. But it's interesting conceptually. It's a unique story. It's got high-profile actors, artistic direction, and it's a very, very well-made film.
It's an excellent piece of cinema.
Yeah,
right?
and if you wanted to go down that route, it's even got like hot button topics like all the main characters are women in like intelligent
leadership roles.
Yeah, this doesn't just this film takes the Bechdel tests now. Like it administers the Bechdel tests. Like if you wanted to go down that route, it's probably the most woke feminist STEM women in STEM film you could imagine.
The shot of them walking into the what do they call it? The shimmer.
The shimmer, yeah.
Right. They're all got their guns and backpacks on. I was like, this is what Ghostbusters wanted to be.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. So the worldwide release thing on Netflix, given that this, I mean, we'll get onto the actual content of the film in a minute,
right.
But I think it bears talking about. What do you think there are sort of pros and cons about it? Because obviously I watch this at home and I've got a decent TV.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to have a 4K TV, in fact.
Right.
And a Netflix subscription that allows me to watch it 4K.
All right, bring in.
But my point is that even though I was watching it in the best conditions that I could get myself at home,
you're still missing out.
I'm desperately upset that I didn't get to see this on a 60, 70-foot screen.
IMAX.
Yeah, because it would be an incredible spectacle.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I think it's interesting that the only films I can think of that have been given a similar treatment by studios and pushed to Netflix are The Cloverfield Paradox and Mute, which you may have heard of. Both are edgy sci-fis.
Yeah.
Both are considered to be flops by the studio and were. Yeah. You got
both critically panned.
Yeah,
well.
Cloverfield Paradox was 17% on Rotten Tomatoes and Mute was 12%.
Yeah.
I mean, Annihilation is 87%, which I think is shameful anyway.
Yeah.
Because I can only assume there's a certain number of people who are like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And that's why you got that lack of...
I mean, it's not an audience-friendly film, but it's not. No. It's not trying to be.
No,
it's
exactly.
It has higher aims than to just be something with mass market appeal.
Exactly. But I think there's an interesting thing that happens there. With that in mind, if you look at Skydance Media's previous releases, their last 5 films were from most recent to least recent.
Right.
Geostorm.
Okay.
Baywatch.
Right.
Life.
Yeah.
Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. Yeah. And Star Trek Beyond.
Right.
Which are mainstream popcorn films.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And probably not going for critical ratings, I don't think. Geostorm, Baywatch. They're not.
No.
Yeah. I mean, further than that, if you keep going back, you've got Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, Terminator Genesis,
right?
Basically every Jack Ryan and Jack Reacher and G.I. Joe property. I mean, they are just banging out popcorn films.
Yeah, yeah.
Most interestingly, though, their first release as Skydance Media was True Grit,
right?
Which is my favorite film.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, how do you go from making it a thoughtful and edgy revisionist cowboy drama to making Baywatch and then making Annihilation and deciding, no, this is never going to work.
Yeah. It's like I can see why they bottled it, but I'm just so disappointed that they did, basically. Because it's understandable, and
I don't think it is understandable because Netflix isn't the place for this.
No.
It's Picture House Cinemas are the place for this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Film fans will enjoy this film.
Yeah.
Popcorn, take your kids to the movies, will enjoy Baywatch. And if you've just had kids and you've got a young family, you can't get to the cinema. You might want to watch Baywatch anyway. That's not to say people can't have kids if they're film fans. But you see my point. Netflix is a more populist platform than the cinema now, I think. So it seems an odd choice to do it backwards.
Right, yeah. I do see what you mean. Yeah, it's not... Netflix isn't known for its sort of art house... leanings.
No.
It's known for Adam Sandler movies.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot more mainstream than, say, Amazon even. Because Amazon have made some interesting films.
Yeah, like...
They made...
Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah, You Were Never Really Here.
Yeah.
Which is recent. Those are Amazon productions, and they are edgy, independent films.
Yeah.
Whereas the things Netflix produces, Stranger Things, etc., they're like
they
designed
have
by
a mass
committee.
market appeal.
Exactly right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you can.
Whereas this doesn't.
No, it doesn't at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look forward to Skydance Media's future releases, which include Mission Impossible Fallout, Top Gun Maverick, and an unnamed Terminator sequel, which will be great.
Fantastic. So let's get down to brass tacks.
Yes.
After all that, What did you make of Annihilation?
It's pretty amazing. I think it's very refreshing, as you mentioned earlier, to see a movie that feels this original. Clearly, it's derivative as it is a book adaptation,
Yeah,
which I think we'll get into later because you've read the book, right?
I have. Yeah,
I'm interested to know the differences.
yeah,
But in the meantime, I think you wouldn't necessarily know that it is a book adaptation because it owes basically nothing to the book other than like the concept.
Yes and no, basically. Yeah, yeah. It's difficult to explain. I will get into it later,
All
but
right.
maybe in the form of a concept.
Okay, look forward to it. Alex Garland's movies have a way of feeling completely unique, I think. Ex Machina felt like new ground.
Yeah,
This feels like completely new ground. And it avoids getting into the sequel and remake territory, which amazes me why Skydance Media, who clearly just love franchise films,
yeah,
why did they go for this?
yeah. I mean, Alex Garland's stock it would have been incredibly high. Ex Machina won an Oscar, I think, didn't it? Like it
Sure.
was certainly nominated for a few.
It should have.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, his stock would never have been higher, and it's almost like he made a superb film in Ex Machina.
Yeah.
He made another superb film in in the form of Annihilation.
Yeah.
And he's now gonna I worry that this will impact his career.
Yeah.
And his ability to get a high budget project off the ground again.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really bizarre.
But yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think it's a great film.
Yes.
When I first watched it, as you mentioned, I had read the book, and I'd actually read the book in anticipation of seeing this film, because the fact that Alex Garland was adapting it made me want to read the novel.
To see what he did in way of
It was more because I like the sorts of stories he's interested in telling.
Mm-hmm.
When I watched the film originally, it almost took me sort of some time to absorb it because it is so different from the novel.
Yeah.
And it shares a lot of thematic, a lot of the themes of the novel, and some plot points.
Yeah.
But the way in which it goes off in its own direction is really striking. And how rich the film is visually, the sound, like the soundtrack and the sound design is fantastic as well. Like it is I think it's a fantastic piece of work. I think it's one of the best films that we've watched for the podcast.
Yeah, I agree with you. Do you think it's one of the best films of the last few years?
I think within this genre, it's almost difficult to compare it to the likes of, Call Me By Your Name,
Right, yeah.
or whatever. But within this sort of, theoretical science fiction, I can't think of any films that are better than it since Ex Machina.
Yeah, you're right. And that's by the same director. So he's obviously
exactly.
got his MO.
Yeah, yeah.
What I like about it as well is, like Ex Machina, it keeps you guessing right up to the last second of the film.
Yeah.
And then it requires, like you said, about 2 months of meditation at a quiet retreat in order to fully make up your mind about what's really going on and even what the themes are.
Yeah.
Like I mind read it for some interpretations.
Yeah.
Some of which are quite interesting. Some of which are. I mean, the most obvious are like it's about self-destruction, which they talk about at length in the film.
Yeah.
Or it's a metaphor for terminal illness.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense because Lena herself is sort of giving a lecture on cancer cells.
Yeah, exactly.
And that sort of unfettered mutation is basically what you're seeing happen to the world, isn't it? It's
exactly,
like everything is growing uncontrollably, but in a sort of wrong way.
Yeah.
And it's uncanny in that sense.
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
Another interesting thing is that it's a metaphor for cancer treatment specifically.
Right.
So you go in, they go in as the treatment, destroy everything that the cancer's doing in changing it. But you come out, chemotherapy is a very difficult treatment to go through.
Yeah.
And you come out as a different person is the message of the film, I think.
Sure.
If that is indeed its intention. There's also the ideas of religious allegory, things like that, which are hard to miss in certain places. But I think the idea that I found most compelling is the idea that it is about self-destruction, but that is a uniquely human trait.
Right.
Which I think is a line said by one of the characters in the movie. They basically list out all the reasons that the people in the crew are self-destructive.
Yeah. So, I think Josie, the paramedic, is an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Lena she destroyed her own marriage.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it heroin addict or is a self harmer?
so Anya is the drunk. Josie is a self harmer. Cass has sort of lost the will to carry on with her old life because of the death of her daughter.
Right, exactly.
And
yeah.
Dr. Ventress is terminally ill with cancer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which isn't really self destruction, but she seems to want to.
Well, she's
Yeah.
probably the most self-destructive or destructive person of the whole team
Because she just wants to get in there.
Yeah, and she's basically from the get-go writing off the cost of her following her goal.
Just to get to there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but you're right. The movie essentially lists out all the reasons the principal cast is self-destructive.
Yeah.
But then points out that going into the Shimmer is itself the most self-destructive act you can do because it's a suicide mission, basically.
Yeah.
Then a version of Kane and a version of Lena both carry out the ultimate type of self-destruction, where they blow themselves up with a phosphorus grenade.
Mm-hmm.
And also blowing up the Shimmer itself, which is the Shimmer blowing up itself, which is self-destructive, which you could say is a trait learned from humans, which is sort of blending itself with.
Yeah, because the Shimmer seems to take on characteristics of the humans as much as the humans take on characteristics from the Shimmer.
Yeah, but although they're self-destructive, they also keep enough of themselves alive to carry on propagating. The other versions of Lena and Kane escape.
Yeah.
And the Shimmer itself lives on in them.
Sure.
So it keeps on spreading its cells that way.
Yeah.
It's telling, there's a scene, obviously it's deliberate. It's not like I've picked this apart.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where Lena is reading a book, which is about the cells of a woman dying of cancer, which are kept alive. And her family basically in the book say it's awful that she's been, these cells, which are her, have been kept alive in this way. And the only part of her that is still alive is the cancer cells.
Yeah.
Right? It's telling that she lives on in effect, albeit in a terrible form, which is alluded to when Josie notices that
the only thing remaining of Cass is
her screaming voice where she dies, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, both Lena and Kane end up being kept alive as a smaller part of a continuously changing new creature.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the worst possible form of body horror you can imagine.
Yeah.
Like it's got to get out. You're a passenger in this like metamorphosis that you have no control over as your brain and understanding of what's happening just decay around you.
Yeah, and I think the message of the film is almost that there's not necessarily a malign intention from the Shimmer.
Right.
Like there's not necessarily like a villainous motive. It's just like a sort of uncontrolled growth in the same way that cancer is. Like it's mutation and change, and it's unstoppable and not necessarily motivated by any goal. Like Ventress says she doesn't know if it wants anything. Like, and I think Lena says the same thing. She's asked, "What does it want?" And she says, "I don't know if it wants anything."
It
just is,
exactly,
and it just copy like the doppelganger at the end, as well as being a sort of like that 25 minutes where there's no dialogue,
yes.
and just like that synth score, which by the way, the way the soundtrack shifts from sort of acoustic guitar, very natural sounding stuff towards the start of the film, and gradually shifts into that incredibly intense electronic synth score towards the end. Like that 25-minute period where Lena is facing off against her doppelganger is like the disturbing like factor in it hides the fact that the double doesn't do anything aggressive until Lena attacks it.
Well, Lena says, "I'm not even sure it knew I was there."
Yeah, like it is almost like it's as passive as that. It's like that figure is, just as present psychologically as the plants or the trees or the glass crystalline structures that are outside the lighthouse. It's not necessarily that there's some creature inside it. It's just that whatever this thing is just takes on copies and mutates matter like at a sort of uncontrolled constant rate. And Yeah, that's just what it does. And I think that's what happens at the end when the fire spreads, and it's almost like it's spreading as an infection rather than it's like spreading like firewood.
Right,
because
yeah,
it spreads, it seems to spread through everything the shimmer has built, as opposed to,
Yeah.
and it's like the shimmer is copying fire. It's like it's, like rebuilding itself as fire rather than catching fire in the way that we would understand it.
Which is also self-destructive.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And there are other sort of quite obvious, as well as the doppelganger, there are obvious horror moments, like most notably the screaming bear,
Yeah.
which is probably the most sort of unsettling monster we've seen for some time.
Yeah. I mean, last week we covered The Ritual, which had a another nightmare creature in it. But that is like a teddy bear compared to this.
Yeah. And the it's quite hard to make out, but the sort of part of the protruding sort of skull on the side of the bear's, what we keep calling it a bear, as you pointed out, it's a combination of lots of different things by the looks of it. Is a human skull, which I was reading an interview with the special effects supervisor, I think it was, or designer, and they literally got the skull of a bear and the skull of a human, created 3D models of it, mashed them together in a sort of 3D modeling program, and went, yeah, that looks horrible. like that'll do.
That's sufficiently weird.
Yeah, and it's almost like it works because of how undesigned it looks.
Yeah.
It would not be as scary if it opened its mouth and there was like a human face inside the mouth, which is, like some, it would be overly designed.
Yes.
Whereas with this, it feels like there's no intelligence to the way in which it's been mutated.
It seems like a natural mutation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And yet the most horrific, unnatural thing you've ever seen.
There's an interesting thing, like, it reminds me in a way, when you put it that way, of, have you seen the Google AI teaching itself to walk?
No.
So it's a 3D model on a computer of a two-legged creature.
I have seen this, and it walks like in the most.
Yeah, it runs, but it does, to balance itself, it just does fist pumps.
Right.
So it's running down, just like throwing its hands in the air, and it has no energy conservation. So it's just like it's really, really weird.
Yeah,
like that's how
it's like that video of Hayao Miyazaki. From Studio Ghibli being shown the like automatically generated movement software for like
a zombie in pain.
Yeah, and it's like just like sprinting along with its face on the floor.
Yeah,
and he says this is an abomination. I strongly believe this is an insult to life itself.
It's a great video.
Yeah, yeah, and the moving guts.
That's the freakiest part, I think.
Yeah.
Because
I think, as I mentioned in the recap, the thing that freaks me out the most about it is that they're all just fine.
Over the moon.
Yeah.
They're almost like keen to show it off.
Yeah.
It's weird. And then when he's got his hand in there.
Yeah. And it's like roiling around his hand.
Yeah. And he's just like, he's like,
I'm having the time of my life.
He's like gritting his teeth a bit, but he's not really minding, is he?
No. But the way, what it looks like to me is that he's like, it's like he's saying, I told you so to the camera. Like he's going, look, see what I mean?
Yeah,
like, this is what I was telling you.
Yeah.
And then obviously when they find what remains of that person, it's like this incredible fungal growth up the wall.
It's like an arboretum of like terrible flowers.
Yeah, it's horrible. And they all end up with a sort of an Ouroboros type tattoo on their forearm, like a sort of snake in the shape of a figure of 8.
Yeah, eating itself.
Yeah, which is
self-destructive.
Yeah, exactly, self-destructive. Which is on the arm of the person who's been cut open in the video. And it ends up on all of their forearms. It's never commented upon.
No. I mean, Natalie Portman's character, Lena, has it in the opening scene.
Yeah, yeah.
But she also has like long hair, which her character doesn't have at any point in the film. Other things that moved around or changed was like, someone commented on like, oh, how did you learn to shoot like that? And
Yeah.
she's like, I was a soldier. And then like, in a later scene, that character who asked the question, where did you learn to shoot like that, is able to shoot like that.
Yeah.
And also like the person wearing the necklace changes, things like that.
Right.
There's like subtle changes in costume and in like ability, which suggest that something's amiss throughout the film.
Well, there's one thing that I picked up on, which I haven't seen widely reported. I don't know if it's, maybe I'm just barking up the wrong tree. The house that they hide in is Lena's house.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah. But she doesn't even like.
She doesn't
that.
comment on it, right? So now there's an extent to which it seems that the shimmer, like what they're seeing in the shimmer, is the product of whatever they've brought to it, right?
Yeah, right.
You know, maybe it's that the house is like a display of her sort of regret about her affair, which is where that took place.
Yes.
But I wonder whether it's suggesting that we are being told this story from an unreliable perspective. And my reason for thinking that is that as her eyes are shimmering at the end, right, there's an extent to which you could interpret that as Lena actually being the doppelganger. The one that we're seeing at the end is actually the doppelganger. Which
That's what I thought, yeah.
Right. And so if you track back from there, from that conclusion, you know, everything that we've seen that happened in the shimmer is told through Lena's eyes.
What I just misinterpreted what you meant. I don't think she's the doppelganger who like emerges from that confrontation.
Yeah.
I think that anything that goes in there comes out as a blend of everything else in there.
Right.
So she's not the doppelganger.
She's not literally
she's
the
not Lena. She's like a new creature completely.
Yeah. But then I wonder whether it's almost like, I mean, it acts as a prism, right? So everything is being like split apart and reconnected.
Yeah.
So maybe it is that it's just, you know, even her memory and, you know, everything that we're seeing is split apart and mashed back together in like a slightly uncanny manner.
Well, I know that Alex Garland only read the book once.
Right.
In order that the movie would feel like a half-remembered dream.
Yeah.
And the idea of the house being her house is very dreamlike.
Yes.
It's like if you were in a house in a dream, often, you go to an office. It might be an office you worked in years ago. It might be your mum's house that you're living in, even though you haven't lived there in years. That's how dreams work. So it does in that way make it feel like a dream.
Yeah, I think so. But I think the one thing that made me question the reliability of the story that Lena's telling us is the fact that it's not remarked upon. And it's like, you know, the fact that it is obvious, it's so obviously her house.
Yeah.
Like there's even a shot which is identical to that of the first time we see Kane in the house.
Yeah.
At the
Going
bottom
up
of the stairs.
Yeah.
Right. And so the fact that she doesn't no, you know, it goes unremarked upon. Almost suggests to me that it's like a sort of Usual Suspect style.
She's making it as she goes along.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's more like she's telling what she remembers from her dream.
Right.
And the dream, you would be like, I was in a house. And you might be like, in the dream, that was my house. But you wouldn't think that's necessarily interesting to them.
That is true. And maybe like that is happening throughout, but the rest of it is so sort of dreamlike in its imagery anyway.
Yeah.
That it's just that bit that stands out.
I think at the beginning she said, I don't remember what happened. So maybe she's just trying to like snatch it from a fucked up memory. So, you know, you present her as an unreliable narrator, but what would that mean for her generally? Because if she's succumbed to some sort of Stockholm syndrome, either because she's in love with the Shimmer and wants to spread the good word, or she is the Shimmer, does that mean that she's just out there trying to be like, you know, why would that?
Well,
anyone?
It's like the Shimmer's not necessarily malevolent.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, it's obvious that she's not the same person who went in.
Yeah.
But whether that's a, you know, partial or entire transformation, or, you know, it's gradually happening or what, then it's left to the audience's imagination, I think, isn't it?
Yes.
Of course, dreams and memory and subjective retellings of events play into Jeff Vandermeer's novel, on which the film is based. It's also called Annihilation.
Okay.
But how much do you really know about the novel Annihilation, Joe?
Great.
Which is...
A book I haven't read.
yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to find out in my very special true or false style quiz. Vandermeer or get out of here? So for each of these questions, I'm going to read out a statement, basically, and you've got to tell me whether it's true, Vandermeer, or false, get out of here.
Okay.
All right. Question 1. On the first night in Area X, the group discovers a set of spiral stairs leading underground, inside which bioluminescent plant life has grown on the walls in cursive writing, forming a never-ending sentence. Is that Vandermeer or get out of here?
I think that's get out of here.
Incorrect. That is Vandermeer.
How could it be never ending?
Well, it carries on down and down and down this spiral staircase.
Right.
But some of it is transcribed, Joe.
Okay.
And it reads, where lies the strangling fruit that came from the hand of the sinner? I shall bring forth the seeds of the dead to share with the worms that gather in the darkness and surround the world with the power of their lives, while from the dim lit halls of other places forms that never were and never could be writhe for the impatience of the few who never saw them what could have been. Question 2.
Is it all off the top of your head as well?
Yeah, it is, yeah. It's just something inside of me. Question 2.
Yeah.
The screaming bear does not scream in the book, but rather recites the same passage of text seen on the walls of the spiral stairs. It also has an entire human head protruding from the bear's head. Is that Vandermeer or get out of here?
That's Vandermeer.
That's get out of here.
Oh no.
There is a moaning creature which at one point attacks the biologist, but it is never seen.
Okay. Is it alluded that it's the same moan as Cass or no?
No. Question 3. So 0 from 2 so far, Joe.
Great.
So buck your ideas up. Early on in their expedition, the group comes across a wildcat with opposable thumbs, which attacks and attempts to strangle Lena. Is that Vandermeer or get out of here?
That's Vandermeer.
That's get out of here.
Oh no.
They actually encounter a dolphin with human eyes, which looks at them morosely as it swims past. Question 4.
God, it hasn't got the same venom in it, has it? That a sad dolphin.
With human eyes. Question 4.
Was it like human eyes because they're in the front and center of its head, or human eyeballs?
The eyes itself have a human quality to them.
Right. Okay.
It's very early on in the book, and so the blending of things is not
fully fleshed out.
Yeah, exactly. Question 4. To deal with the psychological strain of Area X, the group are placed under hypnosis. The novel's title comes from a phrase which is supposed to induce suicide through hypnotic suggestion. Is that Vandermeer or get out of here?
That's Vandermeer.
Correct.
Yes! I knew it!
It's also one of my favourite parts of the book.
Why?
Because in the book, Lena follows Ventress. Characters' names are different, but follows Ventress to the lighthouse and finds her at the bottom of the exterior of the lighthouse, having climbed up to the top of it before being pushed out by some sort of mysterious force. And so she's broken, basically. Her legs are broken and she's dying. And as she as Lena approaches, she starts screaming the word annihilation at her in an attempt to get Lena to shoot herself.
Did it work?
Well, yes, that's the end of the book. No. Question 5. The hypnosis stops working on Lena because she has inhaled some spores from the plant life writing. Is that Vandermeer or get out of here?
Vandermeer.
Correct.
Great.
And so when the psychologist shouts, when Ventress shouts annihilation at her, nothing happens.
Is she just called the psychologist in the book?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so, yeah.
Question 6. The spiral stairs that lead into the ground that I mentioned earlier appear to the group as though they are made of an unusual stone material until Lena inhales the spores, at which point they appear to her as being a pulsating, living, flesh-like material? Is that Vandermeer or Get Out of Here?
Vandermeer.
Correct.
3 Vandermeers in a row.
Yeah. Yes, it is a unsettling substance that requires hypnosis to be able to handle. Question 7.
How do they know? No one's ever come out.
I think the hypnosis just in general, well, it might be that it's a sort of Edgar Allan Poe or H.P. Lovecraft, you know, like humans just don't see things
Right.
and then suddenly they have
Okay.
like insight and then...
Or them, when he puts on the sunglasses and can see the world for what it really is.
Yes, exactly that, yeah.
Rowdy Piper.
Question
Edgar
7.
Allan Poe.
Question 7. The final question. Lena is unnamed throughout the book until the final chapter, wherein her name is revealed to be Louisa Beshed, an anagram of She is a Double. Is that Vandermeer or Get Out of Here?
I think that's a firm get out of here.
Correct. She's only ever referred to as the biologist and is joined by the psychologist, the physicist, and the surveyor.
Okay. Nice.
Surveyors are those people who you see sometimes on the corners of streets with those little tripod things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Quantity
Just
survey.
send one of them in.
Yeah.
Send one of them in.
Ordnance survey or quantity survey?
Or ordnance survey, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. But it is a good book, especially Annihilation, and it's sufficiently different from the
Movie.
the movie that you would... There is a lot in there
Mm.
that I haven't told you either.
It's uncomfortable ground because often I'm the guy who's like, actually, in the book, but now you're that guy.
Yeah, but I'm not going, oh, I think the film's not so good because it didn't do this thing that's in the book.
But only because it's so different. Look forward
That's
to
a
next
good
week
thing.
when I turn into, actually, in the video game for Tomb Raider. So, I mean, you mentioned...
Quizzes.
you mentioned the psychologist, Ventnor? Ventris.
Yeah.
Ventnor. Ghostbusters.
You were thinking of Venkler, weren't you?
Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
Venkman.
Venkman.
Nothing like it. Ventris and Venkman.
Yeah.
Ventris says the title of the movie, isn't she? She explains what that's all about, Annihilation.
Mhm.
And it's different from the book, where it's a command to
Yeah.
end your own life under hypnosis. Well, she in the book, in the movie, she says something like, it's the last phase, vanished into havoc, a beacon, all this sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
That's Annihilation, right? You know a thing or two about movies which explain their title in a quote from one of the characters, aren't you?
Yeah.
I think you know a thing or two. Well, then you'll enjoy my title exposition quiz.
So the name, I have to tell you the name of the film.
Yeah, I'll tell you
A quote.
blank, and you tell me what that is, which is also the name of that film. Ready? It's a nice, easy one to start. Listen, there's something you should know about me. About blank. An idea is like a virus. Resilient, highly contagious. The smallest seed of an idea can grow. It can grow to define or destroy you.
Inception.
Correct.
I was genuinely struggling to think of it there. I knew what it was.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could see the scene in my head.
Yep.
But I was like,
This is good. 1 for 1.
yeah.
Number 2.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, blank.
Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, blank. Is it a film that we've covered on the podcast?
No,
Um,
we would not cover this film.
is it Lady Bird?
No.
Oh, what is it?
The Breakfast Club.
Right.
You
Okay.
ever seen it?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
In the last 20 years?
Probably, but yeah.
I'll give you that one as a...
If you'd gone,
Fair
hey,
Yeah.
then I'd have got it.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
hey, Breakfast Club, is it? No. Question 3. How happy is the blameless Vestal's lot? The world forgetting by the world forgot. Blank, each prayer accepted and each wish resigned.
I don't know.
So I'll give you the full quote. How happy is the blameless Vestal's lot? the world forgetting by the world forgot. Eternal sunshine of the spotless mind,
Right.
each prayer accepted and each wish resigned.
Yeah.
Good. Kirsten Dunst there.
What?
She's in it.
Is she?
So, yeah, she delivers that line. Mary is the character. According to this.
Good for her.
According to Shortlist, where I got this from.
Nice.
Question 4.
Mm-hmm.
Someday we might look back on this and decide that blank was the one decent thing we were able to pull off out of this whole god-awful shitty mess.
And it's not horror, or it's like, is it like a family
I wouldn't call it... It's...
family drama?
No, not quite.
Is it a drama about families?
In a way, but not really. Sort of. And it's sort of horror, but not really. It's hard to explain. As soon as I say it, you go, oh, right, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Because the thing that's in my head, which it obviously can't be, is Kramer versus Kramer. Like, as in, like, oh, out of this horrible shit, it's like the child is like a good thing that we've done.
Yeah, but Kramer versus Kramer isn't the name of the
Yeah,
child.
I know, exactly. Yeah. That's
Kramer versus Kramer.
Right. Yeah. No, his first name is Versus, and he's doing the James Bond thing.
Name's Kramer.
Yeah.
Versus Kramer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
No,
It's not Kramer versus Kramer.
I don't know.
Saving Private Ryan.
Right. Okay.
So again, someday we might look back on this and decide that Saving Private Ryan was the one decent thing we were able to pull off in this whole god awful shit.
Jeez. Okay.
See what I mean by it's a bit about family?
Yeah. Not really. Not
Yeah.
as much as Kramer versus Kramer.
All right. Question 5.
Yeah.
She'll start feeding off both the Canadian cold front and Hurricane Grace. You could be a meteorologist all your life and never see anything like this. It would be a disaster of epic proportions. It would be...
A geostorm?
No!
Oh.
The perfect storm!
Oh.
Close.
That's a shame.
Close ago.
Yeah.
Question 6. What the hell does everyone want with my blank?
Is it a person?
No.
Oh.
I'll give it in the way I think it's delivered from memory.
Okay.
What the hell does everyone want with my blank? Famous for doing one take of every scene and just going with that.
Oh, right. I see. Yeah, Gran Torino.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, you got that one.
Your impression of Clint Eastwood needs some work, I think.
What the hell does everyone want with my Gran Torino?
What the hell does everyone want my Gran Torino?
It's a bit better. That's kind of like Blondie though. Mine's a bit more
Blondie?
like... Blondie, yeah.
Oh, right. The character, not the singer.
Right. This is taking too long. Question 7. You said so yourself. There is no blank. I don't have an alternate future. I'm going to kill this man.
I don't know. It's going to be something like redemption. Or...
No. It's a good one.
Right.
You said so yourself. There is no blank. I don't have an alternative future. I am going to kill this man.
It's not going to be. It's not the Shawshank Redemption.
There is no The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. Oh. No, I don't know.
Minority Report.
Oh, God. Right.
Finally.
Steven Spielberg loves throwing these in, doesn't he?
Do you think it's the marketing department just pull a random line out of the film? Or do you think he builds the film around a certain
I told
phrase?
you, there is no Saving Private Ryan.
I told you, there is no poltergeist.
Oh, God. That'd be a good one to cover, actually. Minority Report. Good film.
Yes. All right, last one. Peter! Isn't that...
Spider-Man?
No. Peter, do you know where you are? Above 24,000. You're at the blank. You're already dying. Look at you. You can
it's a
hardly
mountain climbing film or something.
Maybe. How many are there?
Oh, you're at the vertical limit.
Yay!
Yay!
You got a 3 out of 8.
Nice.
That's good. Good work.
Yeah.
Great game.
Great. That was really difficult. Fair, good quiz though. Well done.
It gets you thinking, doesn't it?
Yeah. It gets your blood pressure boiling with abject rage.
Yeah. I was tempted to put Happy Gilmore in there. And also, there's one that's just like, oh, you'll scare the blank out of her. Living Daylights.
Thanks for that quiz, Joe.
You're
And with all
welcome.
that quizzing out of the way, it's time for some answers. So,
Good work.
what's your answer to the only question that matters, Joe? How would you survive in Annihilation? In blank.
Well, point one, write notes.
Okay. Why?
So, well, they wake up in the first day we see after they arrive. And they're
Right.
like, we've been here fucking ages.
Yeah, but we don't know how long.
Yeah, our food's all gone. Like, we've aged visibly. We just don't know what's going on.
In the novel, that happens because they are put under hypnosis because the process of going through the shimmer is incredibly traumatic. Point two, in the novel, they do take notes, and upon reaching the lighthouse, Lena discovers a cache of notebooks which reveal that even though she's told that they are on the 12th expedition, there's been hundreds of expeditions, and the pile of notebooks is like incredibly large. But yes, if they'd written down what happened, then they certainly would have known.
Thing is, mate, it's a different text, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Wider reading is
In the
not
novel,
allowed
in the
in
novel.
the How to Survive
Yeah, no,
podcast.
I agree. I would say that I would think that the hypnosis thing is slightly hinted at, possibly, but maybe that's just because I was looking for it.
Yes, I think that's the case. I like.
There is a shot of when they're saying, "Oh,
there is that shot of the psychologist with the gold watch
Yeah,
saying, "You're
yeah.
getting very sleepy."
yeah." No, there's a shot of the psychologist as they're discussing being sort of wigged out by the fact that they don't know how long it's been. There's a shot of the psychologist and she looks like incredibly calm, but then obviously she basically remains. There's like a lack of affect from her throughout the film because she's terminally ill and doesn't give a shit.
Yes, she just wants to get to the part where she can blow up into a
Ball of light. Yeah.
And someone on Reddit described it a swirling vortex anus or something.
Nice, good. All of the subtlety and critical faculty that you'd expect from anonymous Reddit users.
Yeah. Well, that's the point. They're like, oh, well, digital communications don't work.
Yeah.
Pen and paper.
Mhm.
It's a classic bit of, oh, we need to invent a pen that writes upside down to go into space. The Russians used a pencil.
Here's my worry: is that you'd write down some notes,
Yeah.
right, on day one. Write down some notes on day two. Day three, you'd look back at them, and what would they say? They'd say, "Where lies the strangling fruit that came from the hand of the sinner? I shall bring forth the seeds of the dead to share with the worms that gather in the darkness and surround the world with the power of the lives, while from the dim lit halls of other places, forms that never were and never could be, writhe through the impatience of the few who never saw what could have been." Joe.
The problem with that, mate, is it's a different text, as I said.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, it's more likely in the Alex Garland version that you would find that the notebook had become printed across your back. or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. Or like, it
you'd
was part
turn-
of you.
yeah.
Your
Your-
face was made out of pages.
Your finger is a pencil.
Yeah.
That's the risk, I think, but equally,
Yeah,
Well, a risk
you're
worth
not
taking.
wrong. You're not wrong. Right, jotting stuff down would have helped.
yeah. Oh, I don't know how many days it's been. Let me just check my diary. Oh, it's been 4 days.
Yeah. Also, you've sent however many expeditions in. It's like, oh, we always send them in with like radios, digital communication technology. Yeah, and we never get any signal back of any form.
Yeah.
Just keep sending them in.
Mm.
Like the budget for that stuff must be
Yeah.
going on the up.
Southern Reach must be pretty well funded.
Yeah. They must have to Amazon Prime a lot of like walkie-talkies. Go like, shit, we need another. What's happened to that set? Oh, well, you know the shimmer. Yeah. Well, they took them in there, and like the other 400 walkie-talkies, they
don't
never
work.
came back.
They don't work, yeah.
They don't work, and they never came back. So
Yeah. Everything we've sent in there so far hasn't worked.
yeah, including people and guns and everything else. Yeah, fantastic.
Just a quick. This isn't my How to Survive idea. It's just a quick. If you just drove a tank in,
Mm-hmm.
presumably like mechanics working, right?
Yeah, guns work, don't
Yeah.
they?
So you just drive a tank.
Yeah. Okay.
Problem.
Well, you drive it in and then wake up 3 days later in a tent, and you go, where did I park my tank?
And then you realise you are a tank.
And the tank is screaming with the last person's voice that you shot. Yeah. Yeah.
It's always the risk, isn't it? Always the risk.
Always the risk. My idea is I fear that with it's going to be a similarly themed comeback to all of these. But basically, what they appear to have tried constantly is just get a group of people, send them in, and just hope they come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just get a 100-meter long rope,
Yep.
tie it around the waist of Lena,
Yep.
let her go in until it becomes taut, drag her out again. What did you see? If she goes, oh, I don't know, because I don't remember anything, then you go, well, that's interesting. Maybe we shouldn't send people in there because that's clearly psychologically damaging.
So what was that? Is that a quote from?
Yeah, it's from the book. It's the translation of Where Lies the Strength. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you should just cut the rope and run off.
Yeah. Well, chain then. I don't know. If that happens in your first attempt, do it with a chain the second time.
She might turn into a chain.
Yeah, well, that was what I was getting at when I said that I have a feeling that all of our ideas are going to be counteracted with, oh, well, what if she becomes a rope lady?
Yeah.
Yeah. But just sort of try and feather your way in rather than just go send them in, never hear from them. It's probably not good news.
Send in next
another.
lot in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I agree with the theory. Mine is similar, which is just to send the whole army in.
Right. Okay. So the whole US Army goes in.
Yeah.
They all wake up 3 days later. Half of them have turned into ropes. Half of them have turned into alligator men or dolphin with sad human eyes.
Yeah.
And suddenly Russia invades.
You know you've got alligator men in your army. You're never going to lose a war again.
You're not really in control of them, though, are you? Doesn't it appear just that way?
Alligator men with a memory of something that resembles
a sad
a life.
memory of what once was.
Yeah. There's a pretty horrible line where she says, "Why did you come back?" And he's like, well, I recognized you.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
He doesn't say, I like the bit which is really uncanny, where he goes, she says, he goes, oh, I was there and then I was outside. She says, what, outside the house? No, it's outside the room with the bed in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, why aren't you saying bedroom? That's what an alien might say. But do you know what I mean, though? It's just slightly off kilter the way he says it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The room with the bed.
Yeah.
Is it you were saying that about the room?
What? Fiance?
Yeah, it's her future wife.
Yeah. Tommy Wiseau famously didn't know the word fiance.
Yeah.
And so basically every time the word fiance should come up, he says future wife.
Yeah.
You're my future wife.
Great
stuff.
So it's similar to your rope holding tactic.
Yeah, send the army.
Maybe link arms. So you send the whole army in linked arms.
Yeah, and they come back as one long man.
Made of flowers.
Yeah.
The memory of a dandelion.
Yeah.
Great.
Right, I've got a bone to pick with the sort of administrative structure of the Southern Reach.
Okay? Yeah, fair enough. Just anyone who shows up can just say, yeah, I'm going in.
Yeah, well, there's that. Yeah. Is there no oversight whatsoever to prevent the obviously suicidal and depressed, terminally ill psychologist from leading a mission that is specifically hoping to have people return for the first time?
Yeah, who's signing that off?
Literally, they go, oh, well, why are you sending these people in? It's because that we've always sent soldiers in and they've never come back, meaning we want some people to come back this time. Yeah. Right, so what we'll do is we'll find the person who has the least
interest in coming back.
Yeah, the least interest in living any longer, right? Is clearly she's not in the right state of mind to be leading an expedition whatsoever. And she appears to be a sort of borderline sociopath because not only has she stopped caring about her own life, but she stopped caring about everyone else's lives as well.
Yeah.
And disregards the safety of everyone in her care just to follow her own goals, which are basically, I want to know the answer to this question I have before I die.
Yep.
In the novels, she's the director of the Southern Reach.
So that's the Southern Reach down the pan.
Yeah, well, that's what the second book's about.
The deputy director steps in and sorts things out.
Not exactly. It's a long story. Literally, it's a long story. And I don't necessarily think that's the case in the film, but she's obviously in a position of influence. She's got her own office.
Yeah, exactly. Not many people have that these days.
No, exactly.
Well,
She
open
walks
plan,
past a big open plan lab
Yeah.
at one point, showing all the other people working there. Now, basically, she's an important person, and they shouldn't be letting an obviously depressed person lead, an obviously suicidal person who is terminally ill, lead a mission specifically designed to ensure people come back.
Yeah. The person with the least to live for.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bad idea. It's bad maths.
Who's that? Fair. I can't argue with you.
No.
It's a fair point.
Yeah.
It would sort of be like
if I went to you, I've decided that I don't I hate podcasts now.
Yeah.
And I want all podcasts to be deleted.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll look after the files for the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, the last 5 people who piloted this space shuttle crashed it. Let's hire the person who loves crashing space shuttles.
Yeah.
Who's always dreamed of it.
Exactly, yeah.
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 Great stuff.
No oversight. Is it just well, we've tried everything else, fuck it.
Well, she's in charge. Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe, yeah.
She's that's why we need checks and measures.
Yeah.
My final tip.
Mm-hmm.
Tip. It's a top tip for the Southern Ridge.
Yeah.
How do they get to the lighthouse?
Walking, finding the coast.
Yeah. So is the shimmer a dome? I was struck with the fact that it must be a dome. Fly over the top of it, parachute in.
Yeah, they've tried that.
Have they?
Yeah, they say that.
What happened?
Nothing good. They say they tried coming in from the air, coming in from the sea.
And?
Well, the result would have been the same in that they wake up 3 days later. They've all turned into dandelions.
Yeah. With memories
By
of
which
airplane.
I mean lions with impeccable dress sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what? Parachute in. I think the issue is that the problem is being in the shimmer, isn't it? The problem is being in
as soon as
Area
you're
X.
within it, you start to
have
your DNA rearranged.
Yeah,
with the next
exactly.
nearest object.
I think that's broadly speaking the risk involved with that.
It's sort of like going into Chernobyl or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, this film's influenced quite heavily by a film called Stalker, which is about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And weird shit happens. They wake up 3 days later and they've turned into a melted nuclear reactor.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't parachute in, is your advice?
No, I wouldn't.
Parachute out.
Dare. Yeah. As quickly as possible. Turn into a parachute and fly away on the breeze. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that it would be optimal to change into? Or meld your DNA with?
Well, the fire seems to be doing a good job of surviving.
Yeah.
Carrying on, enduring. Well, I think it doesn't matter, does it? Because whatever happens to you, you're part of some sort of grand life cycle once you're in the shimmer. It appears.
Yeah, it sort of doesn't matter at all.
The thing you want to avoid is having your entire lower jaw ripped off by a big bear.
Pig.
Bear pig. Yes.
Man.
Yeah. Screaming.
Oh, that's like the South Park thing, isn't it? Man, bear, pig.
I don't know, mate.
There's a joke
Don't know,
about
mate.
that.
Don't read novels like that, mate.
No. Who wrote that one? Was that on the Booker Prize last year?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Thanks very much, Chris.
Yeah. That was episode 137 of the How to Survive podcast. If you disagree with any of our chat or theories, or if you'd like to suggest a film or a way to survive for any of the films that we've covered, or any of the ones we haven't, then get in touch, howtosurviveshow@gmail.com or on Twitter @howtosurvivepod. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/howtosurvivepod.
Yeah. The YouTube channel is going from strength to strength.
Yeah.
It's the first time
It's
we've ever made-
mutating, it's growing,
Yeah.
expanding, changing, all those jokes.
Yes. It's the first time we've made any money from this. We're getting it from that YouTube, which is good. But it does mean that there's a very good case for us stopping this wretched audio podcast
Yeah.
entirely.
Devoting ourselves to video full time.
Yeah. So if you don't want that to happen, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes
Yeah, please.
to keep us here.
With the headline, "Don't go."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Blackmailing people?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Well, we're not really, because we're just saying if no one likes our product that we do for nothing, then
We'll do it for something.
Yeah, exactly.
Alternatively, just send us money.
I think now that is blackmail.
Right.
Please do not send money to How to Survive Towers.
Yeah. Area X.
Yeah, Area X, Feltham. Yeah. Thank you very much for listening. Next week, of course, Joe, is a film that I know you are absolutely raring to go on.
Do you want my rage now or next week?
Well, let's save it for next week because this podcast has been long enough. But next week, we are covering the brand new Alicia Vikander starring Tomb Raider.
From Eidos Interactive for PlayStation 1.
Yeah. And until then, Joe, until next week, just remember, where lies the strangling fruit that came from the hand of the sinner? I shall bring forth the seeds of the dead to share with the worms that gather in the darkness and surround the world with the power of their lives, while from the dim-lit halls of other places forms that never were and never could be writhe for the impatience of the few who never saw what could have been.
It's not that catchy, is it, mate?